Hi everyone, this is Jay Johnson with dailytexture.com. This week I'm starting a new series of videos called In the Digital Studio, where I'm going to take you through just different works of art I'm working on. I'm starting these from scratch. These could be a long video because I'll make mistakes, I'll change my mind. So I encourage you to sit down and watch it when you have some time. Today, let me get rid of this logo here. Today I'm going to work on this image of a blue heron. I shot this guy down at Pickwick Dam, which is near Shiloh, Tennessee, where I go every week to photograph eagles and wildlife. And I just think this is such a fun shot. And I kind of pre-thought this just a little bit before I started the video about what background I might want to use. And I pulled up this one. This is one of the limited edition backgrounds available on the site. This is called At Sea 2. And I thought this one might be fun to try to use with this blue heron. Now, the limited edition backgrounds, I wanted to mention, they're only available in editions of 100. That's why they're a little bit more expensive. Once the 100 are sold out, no more will be sold. So if you're looking for some backgrounds that are more exclusive, that not everybody's going to have, then that's what these are for, to appeal to those people who want something a little more exclusive. So I'm going to work with this blue heron here and see what I can do. I'm going to fade him out a little and see how I want to position him here. I might want to flip the background around. Now I'm working in Topaz Photo FX Lab. That's my go-to program. I actually open my main image in PaintShop Pro first and then go to Photo FX Lab with that, and then using From File here in Photo FX Lab, I'll add my other elements on these layers. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, I'm on the At Sea background, and I think I'm going to flip it to see how that will look with him. I've got him faded out. And that might work. Right now, before I make any adjustments to him, I'm going to start masking away to see if this background is going to work. So I'm on the masking tab, and I'm just going to just do some broad masking all around, see how I want to make this work, or see if it will work. Just masking away close as I can without going over him. If I go over him, that's okay. I can bring it back. Now I'm going to make a smaller brush and go around him a little closer, still trying not to go over him, but just getting close, as close as I can. And I'm masking at full opacity right now because I just want to get a feel for how this is going to work, if it's going to work. And I probably will bring back some of his original background at a lighter opacity. Try to get around his head a little closer, keeping the details of that yummy fish he has in place. Like I said, if I go over him, that's not a big deal. I'm going to bring back some of this. Try to go in between his feathers a little. Now that may work pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to bring back some of his original background. I'm going to lower the opacity, get a real big brush going the other direction, and just gently tap to fade in some of his original background here. Then I'll go back the other way with a little bit smaller brush, still at a low opacity. Bring some of this in like this. Just it's a process to go back and forth, like a painting process. almost to go back and forth and decide how much of the original background you want in there. So now go back the other way. Keep his head in the fish. I want those little splatters in there, which is why I'm going to leave some of his original background and fade this one in, because I really like those water splashes. I'm going to make a smaller brush in some of these areas right here. Try to mask away that. I'm going to go right over his head because I'm going to bring back some of that. I have a real dark line here around this wing from the background difference. I'm going to go back the other way, and this time I'm going to raise the opacity up and I'm going to mask away. I'm going to bring back him and the fish. I want that detail to stay in there. And detail on some of his wings, bring that back. Like I said, I like those little water drops. I'm going to adjust him in just a minute as far as his clarity to make him a little sharper and more colorful. Really like these splashes right here. Want to keep the detail in the face and the beak pretty good. Went a little bit too far off his head right there. Bring back some of that. See, I'm just like, it's like painting. I'm going to have to blow this up so I can see his face and the fish a little bit better. So hit the plus button, get on the move tool. Now go back the other way. Now I can get in here and raise the opacity up. Bring back this detail right here. Want that to be very sharp. That's the most important part of the picture. The fish, mouth. Fish tail. Go back the other way. Get this spot right here. Tone down a little. Get those splashes. Like to keep those splashes in there. They're fun. Alright, now let's go back out and take a look at him. He still has a little halo around his head. Try to correct that. Mask some of that back away. Now bring back the detail pretty strong on his face. Whoops. Went over the edge. Don't want to do that. Just this part right here. Mouth, the fish, his neck. Got a little too much right there. So back the other way. Softly, low opacity, blend that in. Alright, that's a little better. Let's see what I've got. I think I might want to bring back some more of his splashes down here. Let's see how this does with a larger brush. Blend his water right in with this water of this background. There. Okay. That looks pretty good. I'm going to adjust his clarity a little bit before I start putting things on top of him to adjust colors. I want him to be pumped up in color a little bit. I use Fur and Feathers 1 and 2 all the time on these birds. See, this is before, this is after. It's really sharpened him up quite a bit. Just waiting on that to process. There we go. Now I'm going to put the at sea background, duplicate it, and put it on top at different layer modes and see if I like any of that, which I don't. Too much detail of the water. What I am going to do is go grab another texture. Let's try the Illumination Collection. This is one of my favorites for lighting and color. And, well, I also have the Ocean and Sea Collection too, which may have, oh, this may work. In this collection, this is number 7, I think. It's waking up the hard drives. See how it's got that nice light thrown down on there, and some water too. Let's try adjusting that. That's a little dark, a little bright. That's pretty good. That's too bright. Could do a multiply and then duplicate it and then do a soft light and then lower the opacity of these. Might be a little too much. Or I could pick a different one there. Let's do that. Let's go with another one. How about this one? Let's see what this one does. Oh, it's got some splashes in it. That might be fun. Once again, multiply. Let's turn off that layer. Just play with this one. That's taking away the sunlight on the water on the bottom. I don't like that. That's a little too bright. You can play with, on the texture layers, you can play with these things like exposure though. Bring it down a little. Looks like he's got, with the background, it looks like he's got some soft setting sunlight. So let's bring the exposure down on that soft light layer. And let's see if I can find another one. Let's go to the Ocean and Sea Collection 1. See what might be in here. Let's try this one. Might be a little dark. Could be interesting though. That soft light on that one added some richness to it. Change the color tones, adjust it. I like to go when I'm not sure. I like to go around 30%. Let's turn off this layer. Just play with this one. I don't like that. Might be a little strong. Bring it down to about 40, 50. Now let's put this layer on top. That gives it a nice glow. Let's turn that exposure back up on that layer. That's too bright. I'll do this. I'll go one side to the other and totally evaluate it. Not sure I like this one now, but I do like this one. That's giving him some nice light on his face, but it's darkening his underside too much, so I don't want to use it at full opacity. Alright, let me look for another one. Let's try this one. See what this does. I've used this before with the herons. That light looks a little splotchy. I like the color tones. Maybe try adjusting it and moving it and placing the light more on him. Soft light, try overlay. Still looks a little splotchy. Not sure I like that one. This is soft light. Let me duplicate this one and try multiply. That's too dark. Way too dark. Alright, let's look for something else. Let's go to the Illumination Collection, which is what I originally said. Because this has some nice lighting. Let's try number 9 and see what that'll do. It's got some nice glow in it. Nope, a little choppy. How about number 17? Fades out his head too much. Let's see. Now this is one of my go-to collections, but let's try the golden tones. Too choppy. Nope. I'm looking for just the right one. I want to throw some light onto him, but not overdo it. Let's see. Let's go in the Coastal Collection. How about this one? See what this will do. This has got some rich texture in it. Ooh. Interesting. Maybe a little too rich. Yeah, that's a little too rich. I don't want that much texture in this picture. How about, oh gosh, find it. Nature Splash Collection. Let's see. This might be interesting. This has got some fun markings in it. Too strong though. I'm really looking for something that'll help me get the right lighting and color tones. How about one from the new monthly mix? It's still got some pretty strong texture in there. Let's try this one. But not quite as strong as the other one. There's a soft light layer of that. Totally changes the tones, gives it more of a glow. Ooh, I'm liking this. This is a possibility here. Let's see. Overlay's a little too much. Multiply's too dark. What we could do a multiply at about around 30%, which is what I like to play with, and then soft light at 100%. So it gives it some rich tones. It also tones down the highlights on the fish by having the multiply layer in there. See, right there, having that multiply layer tones that down. The soft light layer brings more of a glow to it, puts a little texture on it, but not overdoing it on the texture. but if it still seems like it may be a little too much texture. So in that case, if I like the way it's doing the lighting, what I'll do is I'll go to Topaz Lens Effects. When it's got a lot of texture like this, there's one called Diffusion. They have generous, high, moderate, and slight. And if I really want to soften that texture in there, I'll go with generous or high. Usually I go with generous, as I like to leave a little bit showing, and click OK. And that softens down, which you can see. Let's blow it up real good here. Well, I must have hit the wrong button. I did. It's got some texture still in it, but if we undo what I did with the diffusion, see how strong the texture is? Let me pull it up closer. See how strong that texture is? But then if I redo it, the diffusion, it softens it quite a bit, but still leaves some of it in there, which is kind of cool. Might want it softened a little more, though. Let me bring this up where I can really look at it. And let me go back to Lens Effects on that same layer and do another generous diffusion. Didn't really make a whole lot of difference. So let's do a high diffusion. That softened it quite a bit more, and I like that. It still shows a tiny bit of it, but it's not overdoing it. So that's without that layer, and that's with that layer. It gives the whole thing a nice kind of a sunset glow as he's coming in with that fish. I still think I might want to mask away some of this, so I'm going back to his layer, and low opacity, smaller brush, and just gently around his wingtips and edges around his head. Maybe blow this up a little bit so I can see a little better. Get in close to the little fish, but don't obliterate the fish. Come right over the back of his head. Come down here. Still got the splashes showing, so right here I'm going to come across this wing a little bit. Get up around the fish, but don't do too much because I don't want to get rid of the splashes. Now go with a bigger brush and kind of sweep this and tap. I do a lot of tapping because it makes very gentle marks. I think I've got part of his back there that's missing. Let's see here. Yep. And bring that back. And then go back over it just a little. And then bring it back a little more. Tapping. And the top of his wing right there. I don't want the water going over that. Make this pretty strong. That looks pretty good. I think I might want to make him a little bit more painterly. So I'm going to duplicate his image. As you can tell, that made more of his details come back. But that's okay. I'm going to work on the duplicated one. I'm going to run a Topaz Impression preset just on his layer. Let's see what I can come up with here. There's one. Let's do, I have a few favorites I always try first. Now these are all presets that I've set up. That oil glaze one is pretty nice. Gives him a bit more color. As I was saying, these are all ones I've set up. That's real painterly there. I'll bring the brush size down. Might be a little too painterly. Let me go back to some of these. That one might work, and this one to bring some details. So let me run this one first. Oh no, that made him too dark. Don't like that one. And that's the thing, some of these impression ones, they'll change tones once you get back into your original image. And I've already got his tones like I like them, so I don't want to change the tones too much. So let's go back to the oil glaze. It's just one of my go-tos. Let's see how that one works. It may be a little dark still. Not bad. Smoothed him out a little bit. This is before. This is after. Gave him a little bit more smoothness to him. Now let's hit a clarity adjustment on that impression layer. See, sometimes that makes some pretty cool results, which pumps him up a little bit more in detail, but whoops, get okay. But not too much detail where it brings back a lot of noise or anything. We'll just see how it looks. Yeah, that just gave him just a little more detail on the underside there. Now, I don't like this little spot right here. Let's see if you can see that. Right there. I don't like that. And that is coming from, and I'll click on layers. That's coming from his layer. So I'm going to try to mask that away gently. Tone that yellowish right there down. Just come right over the wings. Here I've got a little ocean over his wing. So I'm going to try to go the other direction and get that green line out of there. And right here. Now let me move them around and see if I have any other spots where I've got ocean background coming over the wings. It's okay in some spots when it does that, but it looks pretty good. Yeah, I like that's toned down a little there. Now let's see if I want to add anything else to him. Let me try this one. We're on the monthly mix category here. I'm just messing around now. Kind of like what that's done right there. But it doesn't really make sense because that's supposed to be water there. I do like what it's done right here. But not enough to keep it. I'll take that one off. At this point, I think I'm going to merge them and see if I have any weird things pop up when I merge. Sometimes it'll make a strange line or something. So I want to make sure I don't have any of that going on. Oh, that looks pretty good. I'm going to duplicate him. And I'm going to zoom out as if I'm viewing him from across the room. I like to do this and then zoom back in. The light at the top is a little strong. I like this here, but this is a little strong. So I'm going to run Topaz Lens Effects again. This time I'm going to choose graduated neutral density where I can darken up some of these things. I'm working on the top part of the image. Now see, that darkened that up a little bit. So let's see how that looks once I go back. And if it's a little, since I've duplicated the layer, I have the main one I merged under it, I can always adjust the opacity of what I just did and see if, because I usually don't like it full strength, just like it a little bit. You zoom out. Unfortunately, when I did that, it does some funky things with the colors right here. And I don't like that. So we're going to delete that layer, then go back and duplicate that one again. And instead see if I can find a texture that I can put on top that probably from back to my old standby, the Illumination collection. Something that's got a little darker area that might look good over the top edge. Maybe I need something a little softer than this. Let's go to Ocean and Sea 2. And how about this one? But let's flip it upside down and set it on. No, I don't like that either. Alright, let's try something else. Let's try a burn tool. Put the strength down, the flow down. Big brush. Just see if I can go across the top and darken that up. I have to go stronger. It's just a bit too bright. There. Even darken down here a little bit. And then maybe in here. I want the focus to be on his face. So I want that still to be bright. Right there. But across the top. Now that's before and that's after. And then I can adjust the opacity. So let's zoom back out. Full opacity. That's a little too dark. This is before. I'm going to bring this opacity down to somewhere just tone down that top just a little bit, maybe about 40 to 50% range. Before, after. It's just very slight. It makes a difference to me when viewing it from a distance. So I'm going to merge it again. And after it gets merged, I'll duplicate it again. Always work on a duplicate so you can save your other one. I could also bring exposure down if I wanted. And then play with some, kind of do like, well, I could do a vignette, but I don't use those a whole lot. Sometimes I'll go to Topaz Restyle to see if I like any of the color tones it may come up with a little better. They're usually pretty harsh, so I can't run them at full opacity. They put very strong highlights and darks in there. But I like to scan through here and see if there's anything I might like better. Topaz Restyle is also good if you have a client, for instance, who, let's just choose this one for an example. If you have a client that likes the image, but their color tones in their decor are different, like this, my original one here might be a little too greenish tone, and they want more of a bluish tone. You can use Restyle to pick something you like and kind of blend it and get the colors just how you like them. In fact, I like this little bit of blue added here and give him a little bit more blue tones. That's about 43%. Unfortunately, it's taken out some of the contrast here. Let's lower it down. Maybe lower it a little more. And I always click the eyeball on and off so I can see. See, that just tones down the green just a tad. Gives it a little bit more bluish hue. I like that. I'm going to click from stack, which merges everything again. I'll duplicate it again. I like Lens Effects Reflector for adding light to a certain area. See, that just added a golden light, gold on bottom. That's before, that's after. If I wanted a light coming in at it from the left, I could do that, or from the right, or from the top, or even silver, just to lighten it. If I wanted to do that. Graduated neutral density is good for darkening, which helps to shift light around where you want it. I like to look at these and play with these. And you can click on the image, left click on it, hold down, and it'll show you your original. I actually kind of like that because it's darkening that right there. It makes it look like the light's coming from this way a little more. Might be a little too harsh to do 2 stops, so I'll do 1. Click OK. Love to play with lighting. To me, that's what makes the picture. Now I've darkened this a little bit. I could add another layer, duplicate it, and do Lens Effects again and add a little gold light over here, but not too much. Gold left. See, I don't like what it did to his wing. I just want it down here a little bit. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to invert. Let's make sure I did duplicate that. Yes. Okay, that is a duplicate. I'm going to invert the mask on this layer, which puts a mask over the whole thing, and going to a fairly low opacity and just brush some of that gold light back on just on this corner right here. Like that. See them? I'm pointing to it like you can see that. See the mask right here? So I added a darker light over here, so I wanted to add a little brighter gold light over here. So I ran the Lens Effects gold on the left side, and then by inverting the mask, I actually put a mask over the whole thing, and this is bringing it back just in that one corner. And then after I do that, I can adjust opacity. I don't want it to be too gold, just a little bit. And I'll do this very slowly till I see something that hits. I usually, when I don't want real strong adjustments, I like things around 30%. And I do like it on the waves, but I want this little strip right here to be a little darker. So I'm going to set it about 50%, move the mask back the other way, get a small brush so I can get right in here and bring back some of the darkness right along this edge. Right there. So now it's just putting a little more gold light on the top, bring back a little more darkness right here. Because I really just want the gold light right there. And a little, bring back some darkness right there. So now, you can see my little mask here. It's just a little bit of gold light. Bring back some of that. There. And I'm going to play with opacity some more. See where I want to be with it. So I've really toned down the mask now. I have just in a little spot right there where I wanted to add some gold light. Okay, I like that. From stack, merge everything again. Boy, this is taking a while. A lot of layers. Duplicate it. Now I'm going to run clarity on the whole thing because I'd like a little bit more detail right here. Fur and feathers again. And fur and feathers 2. 2 is too bright. This is before, this is after. It gives him a little bit more detail in him, and in the waves. But I don't want the detail everywhere. So I'm going to do an OK. And I'm going to do that invert mask again to put a mask over the whole thing and then just bring the detail in where I want it. Okay. Invert mask. Now, I want the detail in his face right here and on the fish and the fish tail and his neck and these little splashes and feathers right here and these little splashes right here. The splashes are important. They're a fun part of this. And top of his feathers and the top of these feathers and this wing. You can see my little mask is shaped like him. And I'm also going to bring back a little of the clarity detail on these waves right here. Just along the top of them. And then right in here, where it's close to his body. Now, this is without the clarity adjustment, and this is with the clarity adjustment. Just pumps him up just a little bit to give him a little more sharpness. So once again, merge him. Duplicate him. Trying to decide if I want to do anything else to him or not. It looks pretty good. Let's go zoom out to look at him from a distance, as that's the way most people would see it hanging on their wall. I'm liking the way it looks. It looks pretty good. Go close up and look at his face a little bit. That looks good. I believe I'm happy with him. And I'm going to call this one done. So that is how I made this image, which I haven't named yet. This fun image of the blue heron. It started with a limited edition background at C2 and then added some textures from various collections from the new monthly mix, from the Ocean and Sea collection 1 or 2, and then did a bunch of things in Topaz just to play with lighting, sharpness, painterly, ran the painterly Topaz impression on the bird layer only. Now you could take this image now at this point and run Topaz Impression over the whole thing, which would make it look even more cohesive. And I'll show you an example. I mean, I think he looks pretty cohesive as he is, but if you are having a problem with that this is too distinguishable from the background, it's too much of a difference, you can go into Topaz Impression and run it over the whole merged layer. Like that, or oil glaze over the whole thing. Kind of just gives it a fun look where it's all with the same type of brush strokes. And sometimes I'll do that if I want to go a little more abstract in the background. I want to go softer, pastel. I'm quite happy with him, so I'm going to cancel out of that. I like the way he looks right here. I think he blended very well as he was originally with the oil glaze impression filter just on him. I think that merged really well with this, so I'm going to not do anything over the whole image. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing another In the Digital Studio video next week. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.